right, guys, it's Chris the Natural Progressive, along with Valhalla. Then we have Jim Massa and Pat the Batman fan with us today. Welcome, everybody. Who's with us, Val?
Well, we have Keith Boyd and one of the great Scandinavians, Bio. I love you, Bio, man.
I know, he was the first one here.
Tony Davis.
Hi, Tony.
And somebody named the Green Report. Who the heck is that?
Whitney.
Hi, Whitney.
Always love having Whitney in the chat and on the show. She will be on with us on Wednesday. Make sure you catch her channel. She's got some freaking great content on her channel, so make sure y'all go there.
Hey, Sandy.
Check her out. Oh, Sandy's in the house. Love Sandy. We are so similar. Like, we're like this. Like, everything we go through the same shit all the time.
Kind of like Siamese twins.
Yeah, kind of. It's insane. Ecos for not. Hey, folks on the road but listening. Okay, I'm with you. I do that all the time when I'm driving. I try to listen to all my faves while I'm driving, but then I can't comment. It's like I'm pulled over. Oh, I'm here. I'm listening, but then I can't participate because I'm driving. You know, people kind of frown on me chatting while
driving. They would.
Just a little.
You can't help yourself, can you?
I pull over. If I can't pull over, I don't say shit. I just listen. Like, damn it! I wish I could comment here. Damn it! That happens.
That drives me crazy, doesn't
it? What? Yeah, it drives me crazy.
I can imagine.
Hi, Keith Boyd. Let's see.
Tony Davis.
We already said hi to Tony Davis.
I'm making sure.
Anthony talked about Coffee House. I need a cup. About now. Yeah, don't we all? I mean, gosh, it's my Sunday. I know it's Monday, but it's actually Sunday for me because I was off today, President's Day. I didn't find out till Friday, and thank God, because I was so done by Friday. Shit happens. Chris Overton, hello, welcome to the channel. Have you ever seen Chris Overton here before? But
no,
I love new people. Thank you. Welcome. Blake TV's here. Yay.
Yay.
We love Blake. Go check out his channel, Blake TV. If you want a break from the Doomosphere shit, go there. He's fun.
If you want a break, check out Blake.
There you go.
There you go. Perfect. You want a break, check out Blake. There you go. There's your new thing, Blake. You ought to love it. I ought to love it. Okay, so, Jim, give us the scoop. What's the updates with... I really want to know about the Jetstream thing because I was kind of confused when I was listening to, you know, the climatologists on the mainstream media saying how strong the jet stream is and how that's why, you know, the cold temperatures are being cold right up north and all that. Tell me.
Well, right now,
explain.
Right now, the Arctic Oscillation is in an extremely strong positive phase. And when we calculate the indices, there's a bunch of parameters that go into it, but the values are over 6 approaching 7, which is basically unprecedented. So what does this mean? This means we're having an extremely tight vortex around very, very high latitudes. But what's interesting is because the planet is warming, when you look at the temperatures for the circumpolar north, the temperatures are warmer than the last 30-year average, except for Alaska and the Yukon Territory. We're having the coldest winter in 25 years. And that's probably because of where the high pressure system that's part of the Arctic dipole system is sitting right over us. So it's just sucking in the cold air right directly from the pole and shuttling it over right us.
Wow. So where the pole is actually warmer than it should be, and all the cold air is pulled over to where you are?
Well, the cold air that's concentrated at the North Pole seems to be being deposited on Alaska.
Wow.
Everywhere else, no. So lucky us. But as to, you know, what with the jet stream meandering, I just did a video on this. What's happening is when you warm the Arctic, which is what's been happening, and you look at some of the temperature plots, yeah, the Arctic is warming the fastest of any region. In fact, looking at the last global-wide temperature thing, 92% of the Earth's surface is warmer, has warmed up significantly, and is warmer than usual in statistically significant terms. But so when you have that, the gradient between temperatures is lessened. So when you have a temperature gradient, warmer air exerts less pressure than colder air. So if you have less pressure, your pressure gradient decreases. Well, wind is nothing but the result of the difference in pressure gradient.
Right.
So when you have less pressure gradient, the winds are going to be weaker, and then the jet streams, because there's not much of a gradient, not much of a difference from high latitudes to mid to low latitude, that's when you start meandering all over the place until you get the quirky thing like a very strong high pressure system that then tightens things up temporarily, as we're having right now.
Right. So
Up
in
in
the
the Arctic.
West, where I'm at, we're going to go into a warm phase again.
Because no polar air is dipping down.
Right. So we're going to be in the 40s in February, which is really crazy, really crazy. And I'm wondering how our growing season's going to work out, because normally the temperatures that are now is when we start to grow, but since it goes from 60 degrees down to 20 degrees, like, how do you grow anything? When I plant stuff, how do I know it's going to survive? Because you're not supposed to plant anything till after the last frost. But if the last frost, you don't know when that's going to happen because of the varying temperatures and craziness. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, what do they always tell? I mean, I'm not a gardener. I mean, if I look at a plant, it wilts. But it's just, but what do they always say is you want to, when you think there's going to be a hard frost or any kind of frost, you do what? You cover your plants so that they don't get damaged and killed as a result of the frost. So if you knew that the temperature wasn't going to dip below whatever the tolerance level of whatever plant you got going, then you could probably plant it. But we don't know that yet. Even though, and I have yet to post it. I just did it came in at over an hour. I did an hour video on Alaska's changing climate, and I talked about a whole bunch of different things, including plants. And basically, what we're finding now is that here, at least in the Arctic, the growing season is longer. You can start planting earlier, you can go later. Now, and I just completed another video about the 5 things climate deniers always throw at us. And one of them is say, well, a warmer planet is great for plants. You can grow more food. Well, if except that it gets really, really hot in the summertime, it kills the plants.
Right. Well, yeah, there's
And also,
so you have the shorter season. Like, this is what I'm finding out. Like last year. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Jim, honestly, but I just want you to go over this too. It's like and I know you will though anyway. God, why am I saying this? But last year we ended up with over 100 degrees for the not record, but a lot of days more than average, and then it killed off a whole bunch of our plants. So I'm trying to do them earlier so that they don't have that, but then they could freeze because our temperatures are going wild. I don't know if they're going to freeze or not. So okay,
it's harder when you're in the middle of a continent too, where you don't have the moderating effects of the ocean. But for example, most of the plants that humans cultivate for consumption are what's called C3 plants. I'm not going to get into the biochemistry of it, but basically the C3 plant, they do not like temperatures pretty much above 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Because it gets too hot, their stomata stay open and they lose moisture out what's called transpiration. They lose the moisture and they die from wilting. Corn is the only commercially important what's called C4 plants that like warmer, drier conditions, up to a point. When it starts getting too hot, even the corn will not do well. And one of the things we're seeing, and this is being documented in study after study, is that with the warmer temperatures, the yield of crops is decreasing and the nutritional quality of the plants is decreasing.
Yep. That's
Did you guys see that movie Interstellar?
Yeah, I saw it.
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
It was
Well,
45 minutes too goddamn long.
Well, the point I wanted to make about it was they intimated that corn was the very last basically thing that could be grown because all the stuff that they were eating, was corn based. So that was the only crop at that point to survive the sort of environmental disaster that had set up, that humans had come across in the film. Sorry, I have a little bit of a headache, so I'm kind of
You're good, Pat.
not forming sentences very well.
I
But
understand.
anyway,
I understand. But corn, yeah, I understand. Corn does in our area, corn does better when it's hot. But it doesn't. Ours didn't do very good last year, but it was hot, but only in certain times of the year. Like in 1 month, it was over 105 degrees for like 4 days, and that killed off a lot of the plants.
Yeah, I think corn can tolerate up to about 104, I think.
But it was too cool the rest of the year for the corn. That's what I'm saying. It was if it would kept being warm, the corn probably would have been a lot better. But it was too cool for the corn to really do well. I did.
Which is why, in a lot of ways, the agricultural belt is moving up into the prairie provinces of Canada.
Yeah, well, it's not doing good in the Midwest with all the flooding, is it?
Not really. Nope.
Mississippi's flooding now. Where else is flooding?
Not to mention with sucking dry to Oglala. So.
Yeah, but if you do okay, sorry, this great comment, seeds not bombs from Jeffrey Pearson. Thank you for that comment. I think that's pretty awesome. Honestly, there was this one. I follow this guy. I think it's AMI Gardener. It's a YouTube channel, and he did this experiment where he took 6,000 seeds and threw them into this one raised garden bed, and just to see what would happen. And I think this is a really good experiment people should just do. And I kind of did that. I threw a whole bunch of seeds out just to see what grows because you will be surprised what will grow and what does well in your specific area, in that specific bed, with your specific soil. So I think it's a really great experiment to do and just let things grow that are going to do well. You know what I mean? We have the areas where I know certain things do well, and then I have these other areas where I'm not, entirely sure what would do good there. So I just threw a whole bunch of seeds out. Like, what's going to happen? Because it's an experiment. We'll see how that works out. I'll let
Well,
y'all
one of
know.
the things that's going to be happening, one of the things that's happening now with the climate change is that wet areas are going to get wetter, so you're going to see more heavy rain events, and dry areas are going to be drier because when you have warmer air, especially if it's dry, of course, warmer air can hold more moisture. It's going to do what? It's going to suck the moisture out of the ground. That then makes the ground more vulnerable to fires.
Right.
And so then you get that little wonderful double whammy. Now, what's interesting, talking about what's going on up in the circumpolar north here in Alaska, yeah, this has been the coldest on average. We're not setting any record lows, but for persistence, it's been the coldest winter in 25 years. When you look at the very high positive values for the Arctic Oscillation, if it were not for global warming, we would be in the 60 to 70 below temperature range. Instead, we're in the 30 to 40 below, which really isn't that terrible, to be quite honest. But you can still drive around.
Yeah.
50, 55 below, gasoline doesn't volatilize too well. But it's just to show you that, if it was not global warming, we'd be really in the deep freezer right now. And as it has, it's been basically 2 months straight of 30 to 40 below.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, things are. Don't know what to do with that. I honestly don't. And there's so much to worry about right now. Not just how do we grow crops and this craziness. And people say a lot like you can just use a greenhouse, but greenhouses can get really hot really fast. And if you're having those severe temperature swings when a greenhouse is already hot and then you get the heat on top of it, how do you keep that greenhouse cool? I think there's issues that you need energy for that, fans or whatever, you know. Um, God, I don't know. Help me out here, guys.
Okay.
You're just letting me just
Well, just as
linger.
a no, no,
I'm
no,
not. My mind's
just as
going crazy how to deal with this crap.
yeah,
So
just
help me
as a
out.
reminder, they also make fuel out of corn, E85 gasoline. So
Yeah,
they
the ethanol stuff.
ethanol. So they make huge amounts of also feed corn. Corn is an artificial. It's not a. It's a man-made product basically, and I'm sure Christine that many clever people out there will figure out with computers how to move the glass panes on the greenhouses and adjust. As long as society,
I'm not talking about big manufacturing plants. I'm talking about the average person.
that's where Home Depot comes from. They make all this sort of crap.
Okay, what happens when all the production is shut down and you are not getting any of those things that you need? Say kind of maybe if a country that produces most of the shit you buy maybe has a lockdown because of a virus that's kind of messing with, you know, everything, and they have to, you know, shut things down to not spread that virus, you know, and contain it.
People will do what they have to do to feed their families. They'll
I'm
do
just
whatever it
saying.
takes.
Okay, wait, you're not going in the same direction as me here.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay,
I'm just playing devil's advocate
I'm
because I'm devilish looking.
I was being the devil's advocate. It's like,
Oh,
what
okay.
if
You're
all
the
the
devil.
transportation of the goods and goods we need to do the stuff that you're talking about, transportation done? What if all you have is your land, your seeds, and you? What do you do?
Yeah,
Not
everything's built on flimsy hinges, man. Like
Mhm.
it won't take much to, have a series of events to set off some pretty big disasters,
I think
that
there's
we
some.
just won't be at some point won't be able to deal with them.
I think some of those events are happening now. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, it's underway. The evidence suggests. So.
I'm not crazy, right? I mean, when you think about all that China produces and um, ships out to the world, and how much of that has been shut down, not all of their shipping, but a lot of it has been shut down because they don't know how this virus spreads. So I mentioned this before about, all those production workers that are building all these things. They don't know what's contaminated and what's not, and they're not letting a lot of there's a lot sitting there. From what I heard, there's a lot sitting in the shipyards, waiting to be shipped out because they don't know if it's contaminated or there's not people to do it that are in what do they call it? What? God, I'm losing my
Hazmat
fucking
suit?
words. They're being confined to,
Quarantined.
quarantined. God, for fuck's sake. God, I'm sorry. My brain is not functioning well.
Yeah, they have 500 million people quarantined in China.
Yeah, and that's where
500
do
million.
we get everything produced? And I'm
We're not
wondering
going to get it.
how
The supply
they also,
lines are going to shut down.
that's what I'm
There's going to be
saying.
shortages. There's going to be shortages, and people will do what they have to do. They'll go and take it.
Right. Okay, so we get a lot of stuff from China. I'm saying car parts and solar panels and all this stuff we get from China.
And that's called societal collapse. When these supplies stop coming, it's societal collapse. And it's every man for themselves. Every man or woman. It's basically collapse. That's why people are so concerned about the corona, the novel corona or COVID 2019, because they can see into the future that bad things are coming. And so far, they're hoping that the infection doesn't spread wildly like it has in China here in the United States. People are extremely concerned, but the government is putting the kibosh on a lot of bad news. They said that the government has admitted that there's maybe a dozen infected people in the United States. The real number coming out of the CDC is 1,000. And that was a couple days ago.
I'm going to toss out something here.
What?
I'm gonna toss out. I feel bad for
What's
Pat.
the
If he needs to go, I
coronavirus?
understand.
Yeah,
The,
I'll
the,
hang in as
coron-
long as I can.
the coronavirus, if it starts spreading here in the U.S., will spread faster
Yeah.
because
It will.
there is no universal healthcare system in the
Well, that's
U.S.
part of it. There's other reasons, but that's one reason. Yeah.
But that will make it get worse because people will not be able to afford to get treated.
Well, one thing will be at the very beginning, they will whether you have money or insurance or not, if you are infected, they will quarantine your ass, put you in the hospital, and they don't want the virus to spread. So they'll do everything that they have to keep this. But once the numbers overwhelm the hospitals, then you're just having people in hallways. That's a nightmare scenario. I also want to mention this real quick while I got the chance. And nobody has mentioned this, and so I'm putting it out to everybody out there. You can research this yourself. Ultraviolet light kills viruses. Okay, so that's a fact. That's just a fact. How well it kills it, what you have to do, but it does. Nobody's been talking about this, so you can buy ultraviolet lights in varying strengths to use. I bought a big ass professional level one, and it'll kill viruses.
Okay.
Okay.
Point taken. And
All right.
sunlight has been known to be the best sanitizer.
And they also want to mention that. They also,
in
I
more
also
ways
wanna,
than one. Okay,
yeah,
wait, Val,
okay.
Val. I've been holding
Okay,
my
I'm
point
waiting.
for a
Go ahead.
little, just a little bit. I've been holding my point.
Okay.
And I also wanted to read Chris Overton's. He said collapse is happening in Venezuela right now, and I'm not sure I'm aware of what's going on in Venezuela. I may have missed that. But there's more I have to say. Hold on, just a second. Hi, honey. Love you. Okay, sorry. Had to say goodnight to my honey. I'll see you in a bit. Anyway, other than that, I wanted to say that yes, that there already are problems with the hospital, even in a universal healthcare system. From what I've seen, I've only got to watch a little bit of it, and that kind of depressed me, and I didn't watch anything else. Well, I kind of got that morbid, can't look away thing on the coronavirus, and I watched a lot of stuff about that. Um, on and off over the weekend. And there's people dying in the hospital, and they think that because people were rushing the hospital because they made light of the outbreak, and then suddenly it got out that it was a problem. The people rushed to the hospital trying to get tested. They ran out of tests, and they think that the rush at the hospitals actually caused more infections to take place there in Wuhan. Am I pronouncing that correct? Wuhan, yeah. And so yeah, the way they're supposed to do it is if you have a fever and have an issue, you're supposed to call them and they will go to you so you don't infect other people. But they didn't do that. They rushed the hospital instead, which could have caused more contamination, more spread of the virus right there. So um, I'm not sure if a universal healthcare system would solve that unless they were actually honest with their people and said, stay where you are. If you have a fever, call us and we will come check you so it doesn't spread any further. They did not handle that correctly. There are people dying in the hospitals. The hospitals that they built in record time are pretty much detention centers where they're just locking people up in pretty much jail cells with bars on the windows and a little feeder um, compartment to shove the food to, and they're taking journalists who are reporting on it and stuffing them in these centers, whether or not they're infected. They're doing that, and there's people even if they don't have enough test kits, so they don't know who is infected or who is not infected. So they're just taking clinical um, symptoms, and that's why it's jumped like the number of cases. They said they changed the parameters. That's because they don't have enough test kits to actually test them. So people who just have clinical signs, they're throwing them in these centers. And then on top of that, they're saying the crematoriums that are taking in people are saying that there's 60% of the people that they're bringing in to cremate are from houses, not from the hospital. So 60% of the cases, those aren't being reported from the hospitals as being corona. They don't know whether they're dying of coronavirus or not. I know they're calling it COVID-19 or something like that, something totally different. I know, but you know what I mean when I say coronavirus. Anyway, 60% of the deaths, they don't know if they're coronavirus or not, that they're cremating from houses. They're picking up police. There's videos of them taking bodies and bodies and stacking them in vans to take to the crematorium. It's okay. All right. I went off on a rampage. I'm sorry, but that's what I found out. It's freaked me out, and I got in a huge depression. And like this,
Well, I think I should also mention that fevers is the way the body is trying to burn out the viruses. The virus doesn't like high temperatures. Okay. And that's why viruses happen in like late winter, because the viruses prefer colder temperatures than warmer temperatures. And so when you have a fever, that's the body trying to actually kill the virus. The virus goes into the cell, it replicates in the cell, it bursts back out of the cell wall, and then starts to invade other cells.
right?
It's not a good,
But
happy situation.
But there's a lot of people spreading the coronavirus who don't have any symptoms, and
Right.
they're finding
Yes.
out that it has a really long incubation period, and even after you're non-symptomatic and they think you're recovered, there could be a second wave of them. Like you can still
And
infect other people.
in fact, during the 1918, 1919 flu pandemic, the second wave was much more lethal than the first wave and killed. And the estimates are, 50 to 500 million in the 1918, 1919 flu pandemic. So yeah, the people want to complain about how the Chinese are so severe in quarantining people, shutting things down, but they're trying to stop a worldwide pandemic, and they are being harsh. And Christine, you're right; they are putting people basically what we would call here FEMA camps.
Hmm.
But they're trying to save more lives. If they let this thing get loose, well, it's already loose. They're trying their best to contain it.
But they did it too little, too late, and they're not able to. I mean,
Well,
they gotta get.
what probably happened was that it spread unbeknownst until
Yeah,
it was realized that this was going on.
But the
I also
Chinese
want to.
government knew it was going on
Well, sort of.
December 31st. They knew it was going on. And there was this festival they had, and people are wandering around, and there's tons of visitors there at that
Chinese
festival.
Lunar New Year.
Yeah, and none of them were wearing masks. None of them were aware that this was
But
happening.
it
But
takes a
the
while.
government knew it was happening,
Well, but
and
it
they
takes a while
didn't
to.
tell people. They didn't
Well,
tell people.
but the Chinese government is extremely reactive. I want to mention something else important.
Well, they're
This,
crooked. We know they're crooked. By the way, hello CB, and hello
yeah, but
Lightning
now
Rod, and hello Gene.
corrupt
Sorry.
Chinese officials can be executed, and they do execute them. I want to mention that there was news. There's 70 clinical trials going on in China right now, but one promising thing they came up with was they were getting plasma from infected people, and they were transfusing this plasma into people in intensive care units, and they were getting very good results from that. So I don't know if you got what I was saying there, but infected plasma with COVID 2019,
That's what it's
with
called. Yeah, COVID.
COVID
COVID 19.
2019, and they were getting very good results with this plasma, this blood plasma. Okay, it's with red cells removed. Now, it's a situation that if this is a good treatment, a solid treatment, the problem is um, there's only so much infected COVID 2019 plasma out there. Who's going to get it? The wealthy who can pay millions of dollars? What they would probably do at first would be use this plasma for important people, like Trump say. And that's something else that we should realize here. Trump is a person who comes in contact with thousands of people every day. He comes in contact with foreigners from foreign countries, diplomats, military, our own politicians. handshaking every day. He's not immune unless they come up with something to inoculate the president with. He's not immune to coronavirus, and he's not a young man either. Okay, and he also eats a lot of barbecue and fatty foods and McDonald's, and he has a taste for unhealthy food.
Okay. Let's not
And
get off on
Coke.
a tangent. Yeah, I know. Okay, we're not gonna get off on the. But I want to say hi to William Martyr. Had a lot of money once, but nightly whiskey and women took it away. Famous bluesman said.
Yeah,
Vanessa Kitty. Those enclosed spaces that cause rapid spreading in winter, we congregate in greater numbers in enclosed spaces. So true. Um, Lightning Rod made millions and spent it on women and booze. The rest I wasted. You're cute, Anthony. I fear China taking live citizens to death camps to go there
pretty
to
much.
die or just get buried alive in mass. Just that some of the
Well,
videos I've watched,
yeah.
I'm kind of with you on that. It's terrifying. Uh, Michael Lee says they handled HIV. This will be treated. Maybe, but maybe it's the nature's way of dealing with the human overpopulation.
It is.
I don't, you
It
know,
is.
Hey
I,
man,
it
we're
happened.
gambling every day with the way food is produced in this country,
Yeah,
and
we are,
especially meat.
and our
Jesus Christ.
transportation, like how we travel all over and drag diseases and all that. That's happened for years, centuries and centuries, where we've brought rats and plagues and everything to different countries. Now what's even worse with all the planes, like people travel from one country to another so fast, a virus could spread like freaking wildfire. It'd be so easy. Am I
Mm.
wrong?
no, you're not wrong. And in fact, even before air transport during the bubonic plague, it spread all through Europe, and they only their transportation, their communication systems were primitive. These type of pandemics, epidemics are extremely lethal. The plague wiped out 1/3 of Europe, 1/3 of Europe, and here we are. Coronavirus. I predicted this thing is going to depopulate. That's what I don't think it's going to go out like Ebola did. So that's my prediction right now. It's headed
Depopulate where, Val? China?
the
Or
world, man.
the
I'm,
world?
I'm saying that it's going to not depopulate, like 90%, but it's going to knock out a percentage of the population in the world, like the 1919 flu was worldwide. It wasn't localized to just one area.
Right.
You know,
So Moose Gal's here, by the way.
and I
Illinois
want to.
becomes the first state to test
Moscow.
for new coronavirus, meaning fast results for local residents showing symptoms. By Lisa Schnecker, Chicago Tribune. Okay, everyone look into that. Lately, I'm sticking with the Arctic. That is overwhelming enough. Sandy, yeah, I know. There's so much going on. It's all overwhelming. But the coronavirus is freaking me out right now. And the temperatures, everything. It's like everything is overwhelming
Yeah,
me
it
right now.
is.
The fires in Australia. Just yesterday, I was listening to the things about the fire, and I hadn't heard anything about the fires in Australia for so long that I thought that wasn't really, I know it
A
was
done deal.
tragic and horrible and probably going to continue, but I didn't hear anything, so I didn't think it was getting worse. But now it is. Oz is here. Yay. Hi, Oz. And Vanessa
Well,
Kitty,
And on top of
nice and
everything else, I got a headache.
I
yeah.
know.
George Carlin's plus a headache formula. Everything
Yeah.
can be terrible, but you can always make it worse with it. Plus, I
headache.
got a
Doesn't
headache.
help.
That's my life. That explains my life. Everything's gone awful. Plus, I got a headache.
Yep.
Also, the scary part of viruses is that, unlike a war or something where you can see the enemy, you can't see them. I mean, naturally, without maybe UV lights or something, but you can't see them. So you're either going to be fatalistic and go, well, if it gets me, it gets me, or you're going to suit up in a level 3 hazmat suit. And everybody has to face this.
I'm not gonna do. If I die from that, I die from that. Michael Cooper says yes, McDonald's is more deadly than the coronavirus.
No,
Probably.
not all that.
Well, no, because the people who are more susceptible to it are people that have, heart
Pre-existing.
issues, like
Yeah,
pre-existing problems.
You know,
And yeah, people who are addicted to McDonald's and all that stuff, yeah, they're going to be,
that's the highest mortality is with people with pre-existing conditions,
yeah,
elderly and young. But they have had a number of cases of people who didn't have
yeah, perfectly healthy
pre-existing,
people. Yeah.
and they're also saying that you do not get immunized by a coronavirus infection. You can be infected twice, and they're saying that people are having heart attacks from a
Yeah, the
second
second
infection.
time, the second round is more deadly than
Right.
the first time.
Yeah.
Where yeah, they'll actually convulse and die of a heart attack.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, I heard the same. I mean, and I haven't even been listening that much. Just this little I've listened to. It's like, holy fuck.
Well,
What the hell?
this is something we've been talking about, Christine.
I
We've been
know.
talking about the need to depopulate the planet.
I
Well,
know.
if there is a significant loss of population, won't that hasten the aerosol masking
Yeah, it
effect?
will.
Won't
But
that?
you tell that to Mother Nature.
No,
You
no, I'm just saying, I'm just
it
pointing that
will.
out that
Right,
that's
it will. It
Yeah,
will.
we
Like,
talked about that. Okay, Val, hold on. We
okay, I'm just saying, yeah, it will.
so depopulation is like not a solution for
no,
or
depopulation kind of is. Okay, let me tell you why. Okay,
anything.
you're not going to decrease the aerosol masking effect until you overpopulate so much that we can't keep it up anymore, and then it all comes crashing down.
Mhm.
If you at least stop growth and then slowly decrease, there's a lesser chance of that happening, because at the rate we're going, it's all going to come crashing down at once. If we at least try to slow it down, which I don't believe will ever happen by any means. I don't believe there's any way to turn this freight train around, honestly. Um, but my thinking is, if I had all the powers to control everything, I would say, stop having babies, and then you could, keep stuff going a little bit. But with what we have left of fossil fuels, and I don't know, we're screwed. There's no way to save this freaking planet. I mean, that's what
Christine,
I'm trying to come to terms with, and it's so hard.
Mhm.
It's so
Could
hard.
it could it be possible that the planet, the biosphere, Gaia, is reacting as a infected body is and
Yeah,
trying to get rid of an overabundance
yeah. It's the
of
autoimmune system.
of the planet that it's just the fact that humans are killing this planet. And if you have an infection in your body that's killing you, your immune system will attack that infection. And, sure, it's going to affect global dimming. What's going to happen is going to happen. And it's already happening. Okay. It's happening. It's not a matter of what we prefer. It's what we're reacting to reality.
Yeah,
Okay. Reality and also ecological reality. This is ecological reality where Mother Earth is doing its autoimmune system. I hope I don't die. I don't want to die, but it's got to do what it's
and
got
I
to
don't
do.
want other people to die. I feel bad for other
Well, I don't know
people.
about all that, but
I mean, no, I mean, okay, there's a separate side of me that's like, okay, we need to cut down population, thinking like, to save the planet, we need to cut down population. And then there's the human side of me thinking, I don't want people to die, because that's horrible. I don't want people to suffer. There's two sides of me, right? One side says I don't want people to suffer. I don't want people to die. And then there's other part of me that says people need to suffer, or not suffer, but people need to die. I don't think I would hope they
the
wouldn't suffer.
biosphere is heading towards a dead, lifeless planet, a totally dead.
Yeah,
You
it
know,
is. And
it's,
people are
it's
going to suffer, and people are going to die.
haven't you ever seen a movie where they have a lifeboat of people and there's too many people in the lifeboat and they start heaving people over?
Yeah.
It's
But
an unfortunate situation. It's unfortunate.
it's god awful. Okay, then
I would.
spend time with your grandkids. Okay, not all y'all have grandkids. I do by marriage. My son had kids through a marriage. I have two grand boys that are just amazing. Spend time with them on Saturday. And God, it's so hard because I'm just trying to give them the best time when they're with me. It's just like, well, I'm just gonna make this the funnest time while you're with me. because I know they're gonna suffer, and it's gonna
Hey, how do you
so
think I
bad.
feel? How do you think I feel when I see my little grandniece, 3 years old, come crawling up to me acting like a cat? I feel terrible. This is the legacy. This is the legacy that we've left. We've wrought. But of course I didn't make that baby, so all I can do is like feel bad. You know, um, you know, I haven't gone
It
around making it.
sucks. It sucks, but
Yeah, it
people
does
shouldn't
suck.
be going around making I didn't want to make I tried to get myself fixed before I had any babies, and they would not let me do it because I'm a
Hey,
female and don't have rights over my own body. So fuck
that
men
sucks.
and fuck their shit and trying to tell
Fuck
me what I
them.
can and cannot do.
Hell yeah.
Seriously, like no, I love you guys, but the men who are telling me that I couldn't get myself sterilized. Men could get vasectomies all day long. I could not get my tubes tied. They
Oh,
would not
Chris,
allow me to do it. It's fucking bullshit. Okay? And now I have kids that I got to worry about, that I got to watch suffer in this messed up world. I have to watch that. I get to watch that because
Of people.
oh,
yes.
did you hear how Ted Cruz freaked out this morning when I think it was the Alabama state legislature proposed that men have to have mandatory vasectomies if they have more than 3 kids, or if they father more than 3
Sounds like
kids.
a good
Oh,
idea to
And
me.
it's like, oh, so you can tell women what they can do with their bodies, but you don't like it when it's turned around on you.
no, of
Hypocrite.
course not. And
Hypocrite. I mean,
it's
what
always labeled as
bullshit.
having more babies because they're making more consumers. That's the conservative way. You have to have more consumers to keep this
Well,
whole
you
No,
know
I,
what?
I think it's more the go forth and multiply aspect of the Bible,
That's part of
personally.
it. But
yeah.
you know what?
But it's
There's a
also more
big,
consumers to
that
grow
there's
the
a big dose,
economy,
there's a big dose of
kill the
reality
earth,
coming soon. A big dose of reality, and reality is a
whether
cruel
we like
mistress.
it or not. Yeah.
And whether you like it or not, um, the planet's going to be depopulated. Some of this population, it's going down now. It's
If you
happening
don't think
now.
that the elite class know about this, just
Sure, they know about it.
Google
Wait.
doomsday bunkers.
Oh
Sure,
yeah,
they
I've
got
seen
bunkers.
that. Yeah, they
Well,
know.
They got
I
Mount
don't think it's
Weather
gonna
is a
save them.
Mount Weather is a
that's
FEMA bunker.
that's a
They're all
point I
over.
make in my video on the carrying capacity, that this human exponential growth is not sustainable, and that there will be corrective measures. This coronavirus could very well be one of those corrective measures.
It could
Dude,
very
they
well. I
got
think it
bunkers.
is. I think it is, honestly.
Dude, they
By the
got
way,
bunkers
hi
the
Anita.
size of
Anita is
cities
here.
out there. They
Yeah.
got bunkers that have nuclear power. They got enough food for 100 years. They can. They have They have many
Yeah,
of
but
the
they want us
dumb.
here to the end to fulfill their needs as workers for them. They want us to be here as slave to do the slave labor
More or
and all
less.
that till the end, and they will fix themselves up, which I don't think will save them, but they think it will save them.
Well, it might save them for 5 or 10
Yeah,
years.
it might save
Well,
them
I
for a
guarantee
little
you,
while.
they've also got scientists on their payroll that are like, I guarantee you, Jeff Bezos has some full time crew working on life extension technologies, for them. So Elon Musk, those guys, you can bet they're looking into that type of stuff.
They're looking at, but trust me with this.
And Michael
They're
Cooper, sorry, I gotta read some of these comments once in a while. Give me a
Go
break.
ahead. I was just
Michael
talking.
Cooper says they needed the slaves to fuel the economy, and that's an absolute fact.
How galling is it to think that those guys will be some of the last representatives of our?
Well, they
I
will. There's
know.
not much you can do
No,
about it.
that's the thing is, don't you think it would be totally appropriate for Trump to reign over the end of the planet?
Oh yeah, man. If there's not a bigger sign of our failure as a species than having a guy like that get elected, I mean, Jesus
How
Christ.
sad would it be if
How much more of a warning sign that we fucked up completely and utterly do you need
exactly? I mean,
to
I,
get to the point where you have
unless they put Trump in a level 3 biosuit or have some sort of vaccine, he's just as susceptible as the rest of us. And as far as billionaires surviving, there's not much we can do about it. The only thing you can do is, prepare yourself. You can
oh yeah, no, I'm just this is just philosophical musings,
well,
man.
philosophically, it's unfair, but a lot of things are unfair in life.
Yeah,
Most of
it's
life
not
is
like it's
unfair.
keeping me up at night. It's just kind of like great. Well, but that's we
Believe me,
did it to ourselves.
Believe me, they've taken their billions and they have invested it. They've got islands with surrounded with air-to-air, surface-to-air missiles. They've got everything that you can imagine. They've hired
I'm
ex-Navy
sure
SEALs.
they have. Okay, we
They
don't
do.
care. You know, but I
I'm
don't
just
fucking
making it
care.
clear. He
Those
said
guys are assholes,
that
and we
they had
can't do
bunkers.
nothing
I'm saying
about that.
they got bunkers beyond what you can imagine.
Okay, so why are
Way
we talking?
beyond.
We understand that. Why are we still talking about it?
I don't know. I'm just saying what he was saying.
But we can't control that, and all
No.
we can do is do what we need to do and deal with it the only way we can deal with it. My way of dealing
Right.
with it is talking to all of you guys, and thank God that I am not alone in all of my feelings. Yeah, I don't, none of us 100% agree on everything, and are processing this all the same way, but I'm
I didn't mean to
stressed about
start
it.
off a firestorm there with the
Oh,
bunker talk.
No, you didn't. We love you, Pat. And
they have got
it's a
stuff.
true thing you said. It was absolutely true. But I
They've
don't.
got stuff beyond what you can imagine. Anything beyond, they've got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's just that comes just from the I mean, the megalomania of the the
Well,
psychopathic nature
Tell
of
me
it.
this, Pat. Let's say you had $50 billion. You would do the same thing. People,
Not necessarily.
well,
I
you
don't think
might.
I would.
Most people will. Most people. If you win the lottery, what happens with all these lottery winners who've won $500 million? I can assure you, they're not going Mother Teresa. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you can find one big lottery winner that's won $500 million and it's gone Mother Teresa, let me know.
Well, I know, because that's
Hold on.
our society doesn't reward that kind of thinking.
It
Okay,
doesn't.
time.
It revolves all around money. So money, it's like the old
We are on
Scarface.
right now.
First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the
I
women.
just muted myself.
Well,
to answer
pretty
your
much.
calls.
And
The mentality of this country. I think that's why that
But
is
it's
such
the-
a resonating
it's the mentality of humans. Look,
concept.
I've talked this Professor Donald Hoffman has gone on about the conscious agent theory, but one of the things is that in your genes there is evolutionary fitness payoffs. Everybody has it encoded in your genes to survive. This is based on survival. You are programmed to seek out food, avoid danger,
Fight or flight.
fight or flight. You're rewarded with these evolutionary fitness payoffs. Nobody gets rewarded by being a saint. If you do, you're going to die. So you could try to say that we're be loved. Guy McPherson has this habit of saying, we'll just love each other at the end. It's going to be a fire in a madhouse, literally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
It's gonna be more.
I think it should be love.
bullshit.
Love remains until shit hits the fan. Basically.
Well,
only love remains until then.
Think about
I think the shit has already hit the fan.
Think about what people will do. Think about what people will do to keep from starving, from watching their kids from starving. What will they do? Are they just going to hold hands and have a love-in?
Yeah, people can't even be bothered to return their fucking shopping carts back to the
That's right.
in the parking lots. Give me a break.
You know how many guns are in this country?
Yeah, exactly.
Take a guess, man.
Yeah, it is.
I don't even.
I might have to have you.
I'm sure it's
real quick.
It's 300 million. 300 million guns. There's as many guns as people.
Oh, you will.
Okay, and one of the most popular channels on YouTube are gun channels.
Sure.
That's probably, in fact, I would say it's the most popular of the genres. Everybody's well armed in this country. You ever been to Bass Pro?
Cabela's? No. It's like a Dick's Sporting Goods or something like that.
Yeah, but it's more. I mean, Dick's,
outdoorsy, like REI or something.
No, REI doesn't have guns, man.
Oh, you're talking about? Yeah.
I'm talking about they have enough weaponry.
I know what you're talking about.
AR-15s, AKs, heavy 50 cals. They got 50 cals. You know how big a 50 cal is?
Mm-hmm.
It can take out a vehicle. Okay, they got enough to field a platoon in a Cabela's. I'm done.
Can you guys still hear me right now? Because
we can't hear you, Chris. You got your microphone is muted.
But people can still hear me when it's muted.
I
I
couldn't
can
hear
see
you
you
just now.
talking.
Well, people in the chat could hear me talking.
Well,
I didn't hear you
it's not
either.
muted now. You're
I
talking.
know it's not muted now. I unmuted it, but it was muted, and people in the
Okay.
chat can hear me, but you guys can't hear me. This is freaking weird.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just talking to Dave, Indie Outsider Dave, and he was telling me how Jeff Bezos and all that, they're doing this big, trying to make money off of climate change, like a big push, like a huge investment in that. So I got to look into what's going on there. Millionaires trying to make more millions on.
It's just business.
I know, right?
That should be, yeah,
So I wanted him to jump on, but he couldn't jump on. He's going to
the
work.
motto.
Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on. I muted my microphone. It was these guys couldn't hear me. Why can you hear me? Damn it.
I
Sorry.
don't know. I'm at a loss. Maybe it was a ghost. A ghost did it.
I don't know. It was muted. You seen it was muted. My microphone was muted.
Yeah, I was yelling at you. Unmute your mic. But we're here. So we brought up some fairly depressing stuff. Maybe we should discuss dealing with this depression. And I'll talk about how I deal with it if you want. Want me to do that?
Okay, I need to take a break. If you're going to go on for longer, I need to take
No,
a break.
only if you want me to, Christine.
I don't.
I mean, he can do it.
Sorry.
He can do it.
What?
Okay,
What
Christine.
what I
Christine,
do
pick one
is
of them.
I put on, I don't know, I select a nice CD.
Allman Brothers.
And
Oh, when you do the
well,
show?
I'm more Deep Purple, Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Oh, there you go. All
Genesis.
right. That works.
So Rainbow, that kind of. But I'll take one of those things, just whack the volume up,
Yeah.
I do
or
old
I'll plug in
country
my bass
music. Is that
guitar,
what we're doing?
whack the volume up on the amp.
We
That usually
do.
takes care of things.
We do some John Anderson, not the John Anderson Osama, not the one from Yes, but the other one, the real John Anderson, the old guy that sings old country music. Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, Chris Christopherson, Johnny Cash,
There you go.
Johnny Paycheck, just the old time, like this was when life was good. This is when I remember life being good. And we just
I will say
chill
music
out and
is,
dance.
yeah, music is one of the few worthwhile things that humans have done as a
And
species.
hang out with your animals and
Pretty
spend,
amazing.
yeah, spend times with your animals, having I don't know.
The one thing you can do, and I would suggest, I also want to mention, I worked 10 years in psychiatric hospitals. One thing you can do is talk to people. If you can find somebody to talk to if you're feeling down, share it. That's what we're doing here. Man, why have you got your head down, man? Are you sick?
No, I've got my heating pad here, man. I'm just battling a
Zox
migraine.
is here. He says if you wait. If Zox says if you work out, you can bear arms.
Oh
and
God!
Oz says it's only Monday, and to me it's Sunday, so it's the end of the week to me, and tomorrow's Monday. So yeah, but yeah. Sorry guys, I gotta say hi to my peeps in their Mezcal. How about some Green Day? I like some Green Day. I'm more of an old time country or old rock person myself. Leonard Skinner, who else? I don't know. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking out.
Well, that's one suggestion is,
Lose yourself in music.
Well, yeah, lose yourself in music, but that's kind of specific to the person.
Yeah.
We're all, one thing that you brought up, Christine, was that part of your grieving process was doing this show. To engage people, to make this community of people, so that we can discuss with ourselves what our feelings are.
Yeah, I was really hoping to have other people to talk about it with.
And that's discuss our feelings,
because there's no one in my personal community I can really talk about it and get down deep about
what I see, one thing I see is people are angry. You're angry.
Torstein's here. Hello, Torstein.
So people are angry that humans have wrecked this planet. Like, bad children who have gone into a house and wrecked the house, tore it apart.
Or a dog that you left home in the house and ripped up the couch and the
Yeah.
carpet and the wall, and you're
So,
like,
so,
what's wrong with you? But the
so,
dog is
so we're angry.
innocent, where the people know they're doing it. They know they're
And
supposed to be the more intelligent being, but they're acting
right.
like a dog in a house who doesn't understand, nice things, and just is like, oh, this is just stuff for me to play with. But humans are supposed to be smarter than that. They are just like the dog in the house, ripping up
But
the
it's even,
carpet, ripping up
yeah.
the walls, ripping up the furniture, anything, and tearing out through the garbage. That's what humans are doing, but we're supposed to be the more intelligent species. And we will get on a dog and beat the shit. Not me, I don't, but people will beat the shit out of their dog for doing that when they're doing that to the environment that every species has to live in.
But
That's what they're doing.
Christine, worse than just littering or wrecking, there is a certain amount of evil concerned with like the Alberta tar sands, where it's
Yeah.
almost a literal rape of the planet. Where
Well, it's worse. That's what I'm trying to say. Is
yeah.
we are so
It's
much
not,
worse than that. We are
and
so
so we're
much worse than that. But we complain about a dog chewing up our carpet, chewing up our couch,
so,
or a pillow, or his
so that's what we're
toys.
trying. So that's what we're trying to voice is our anger.
Humans are not smart. They're not fucking smart.
They're greedy, but
Yeah, they're greedy and they're uppity,
selfish.
and they think they're better than everybody else or
Well,
every
I'd say
other.
there's intelligence, but what's lacking is wisdom.
Yes, you're
Well,
right.
they're motivated by greed, but I'm also kind of pointing at the anger that we feel at seeing that the planet being destroyed, being raped and murdered.
Right, Vanessa.
You know,
I don't beat my animals, but people do. But no one's beating the humans for tearing up the planet. Who's beating
well,
them for
we
that?
discussed
Who's
that
rubbing
too.
their nose in it? Who's
We
doing
we
that?
we have discussed that too as far as the climate trials, climate criminals.
Who's rubbing the human's nose in the poop they put on the planet?
Well, we have failed. We have failed to have climate criminal trials. You know, the closest thing, Extinction Rebellion, kind of pointing at it, but really, in my view, the Alberta tar sands, other environmental disasters are climate criminal. They're criminal. I put them up there with Nuremberg. In fact, worse than Nuremberg, because these corporations and these people are going to kill us. They're going to kill us all.
They definitely are.
Nuremberg, it was just Nazi war crimes, and they did have a genocide, but the climate criminals is killing everybody and everything. And so I don't know. I'm kind of pissed about it. I'm a little angry.
I'm a lot angry.
I can tell you are.
When we pretend to be the higher intelligence.
So we're trying to process this anger.
Yes, I'm trying to process it. I'm trying to figure out why people think they're the higher intelligence when they can do that, and yet in a small little house they're going to rub a dog's nose in a natural process that they have to do, and they don't understand where they're supposed to do it
you
because in
guys,
nature they do it outside and they're not used inside. But
you
we are
guys,
not
you
smart
guys,
enough to realize we don't know, like nature, like the animals are supposed to fucking just figure it out, but we're supposed to be the smart ones. I don't know. Fuck, people are stupid.
you guys talk
They're
about
not
politics
wise.
every day, and politics is about power. Humans need for power. Humans
Okay,
need
let's go there. Let's go get into the fucking politics bullshit that's going on right now. And how many times have I fucking said that they're going to cheat Bernie? Our political process is a fucking sham. There's the
but it's about
oligarchs,
power.
there's all of that's in power, and they're just going to cheat anyone that would actually be good for the people. It's a fucking sham. Look what they're doing to Bernie. And they're going to do it again in Nevada. They already did it in Iowa, the caucus states where he did the best. They've already planned all this stuff. Oh, it's not an app. It's just a thing a program we put on an iPad. But it's not an app that happened in Iowa. We're not gonna. Oh my God, stupid! Oh my God, they're gonna watch it. It's gonna happen. It's going to happen. And I said it was gonna happen. That's why I didn't want nothing to do with this freaking election. It's worthless. Even if we could possibly get somebody like Bernie Sanders or Tulsi Gabbard in office, we'd still have to get like all the the rest of the freaking system, the deep state.
Got to get
to
Moscow
work.
Mitch out of there.
Yeah, Mitch McConnell and all those Nancy
Well, Mitch
Pelosi,
McTurtle.
all those.
Well,
Yeah,
well, again, you're talking about power. Okay,
it is.
that all
It
these
is.
different people, all you people
I
are trying.
wanted Bernie. Do I have to put up my Bernie hat again? I wanted fucking Bernie. I was a
You like
Bernie
you.
fucking delegate all over the place. Showed up at the rallies, everything. Was a delegate. Drug people there just to be fucked, and we're getting fucked again. It's getting.
Well, just remember what happened at the Iowa caucus.
Yeah, and it's going to happen at the Nevada caucus too. So it's going to happen, and then California they're planning all kinds of shit for California too. So and then at the end, what they're going to do is say, "Oh, he doesn't have a majority. Oops. I guess the super delegates are going to have to decide it. Darn. More people want a medium, whatever you call those, the fucking medium people than moderate people. That
Centrists.
yeah, more people are gonna want the moderates than they want the the centrists, and then they don't want no radicals because more people are voting for those candidates. So we better get one of those candidates. They're gonna fuck him. I mean, seriously.
And now they're letting Bloomberg on the debate stage. Give me a fucking break.
Oh, he bought that. He bought that so.
Of course he bought it. They changed the freaking rules. Oh, you gave us $300,000? Okay, there you go.
Torsten,
It's
violent
all
cuntess.
bullshit.
It is. It's
I
all
agree with that.
bullshit.
It's
Well, to quote George Carlin, it's all bullshit. It's a big club and you ain't in
You
it.
ain't in it.
so why are you even paying attention to it? What it's out of your
Because I
control.
had a little minute, tiny bit of hope. And then there's the other part of me that's like, it's a bad accident, but you can't
How
look
many
away. And you
how
have
many
to.
times how many times does it take to have your hopes dashed to realize, it's a loser's game. It's a loser's game. And you're just caught up in this loser's game where they have total control over this. You have no control over it.
Was
I'm not
it?
talking about
invested in
you.
this
I'm just saying
election.
in general.
I said
I'm
it
Was
saying,
over and over. I'm not invested in this election. Doesn't mean it doesn't fucking piss me off to watch it happen again.
why are
And to
you
see
letting it?
people falling for it. To see people saying, "Oh, well, Bernie's gonna win. Bernie's gonna win." You think they'll fucking let him
Why
win?
don't you focus on something else and point out the climate criminals that these people have murdered you and your
Oh,
family?
like I haven't done that.
Okay, but we haven't focused enough. There should be climate criminal trials like Nuremberg.
The odds of that happening
Are
less
low.
than 1%.
But I'm not talking about official. I'm not talking about governmental climate trials. No, that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
The government's not going to allow it. I'm talking about on the internet. I'm talking about the people having climate trials on the internet, not governmental. And she mentioned having this what did you call it, the Citizens Assembly?
Yeah.
That's all fine and good, but I'll tell you what, the government will never ever allow a rival.
Well, there's a deep state.
Well, was it Mark Twain that said if voting really mattered, they wouldn't let you do it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that kind of says it all right there.
To, Pat. I wasn't referring to government having climate trials.
Oh, gotcha.
But let's not forget that ExxonMobil knew back in the freaking early 70s. We found the goddamn documentation that burning fossil fuels, adding CO2 to the atmosphere will warm the planet. They knew it back then, over 40 freaking years ago, and they decided to embark on a policy of disinformation.
Okay, prosecute them. Have climate trials on the internet and prosecute Exxon. The evidence is right there.
The damage has been done.
Yeah. Seems kind of like pissing in the wind.
It's called justice. Somebody murders somebody. You can't say, well, the damage is already done. We should let them go. They go ahead and prosecute them for murder. It's called justice.
I don't know. I'm starting to put justice in the same category as hope.
Okay, but I'm talking about people's justice. I'm not talking about the government's.
No, I mean,
how many times I have to say this? The government's not going to do shit.
Wait, I'm waiting
Well,
for
I know
a break,
that.
but I'm not getting a break, so I'm just going to cut in. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Sandy says I'm invested in Bernie, and I still am invested in my community. We need to win the Senate and keep Congress. Focus locally, then. Okay, Sandy, I do focus locally. I do a lot of stuff locally as far as bitching at my local people, but I am a minority. You live in New York. I live in Utah. It's all
Yeah.
Republicans here, okay? I can't do shit here. I tried. It's so gerrymandered that doesn't matter. Our fucking government is so fucking not democratic. I'm sorry. We do not live in a democracy. We live in an
It's an
oligarchy.
illusion of democracy. It's an
It's a
illusion.
total illusion. And
It is.
once people realize that, maybe they'll get in the fucking streets and start standing up for ourselves. But it's kind
Uh,
of too fucking late anyway because our planet is fucking dying. So
Well, since we kind of all agree our days are numbered, more or less, again, I'd like to suggest maybe we share personal things that you would like other people that you find like positive or uplifting or just satisfying. Maybe you can recommend to other people.
just spend as much time in nature and
he's
outside.
saying to revive or suggest people.
Yeah,
I
like we've mentioned George Carlin a couple
Oh,
times,
specific
and I
people.
gotta
Okay.
say, if you guys have not, anybody watching has not checked out George Carlin, man,
well,
I think most
he
people here are fans.
I suggest to people they
I
watch
miss
Christine.
George. I actually saw him in concert in New Hampshire back in the mid '80s.
oh lucky, yeah, I
Oh,
saw him.
yeah.
I saw him I was in front row at the Tonight Show one night when he did one of his routines. That was the closest I got to meeting him. But my wife, I was working at the time, so I couldn't go down to his book signing. My mom did give me a signed book from him, so I enjoy that very much. He was so on it, man. He taught all this stuff that's happening now, man. George has got some
I mean,
comments
he's spot on.
30 years ago about
He
it.
was
he went through
visionary,
he went
that's
through
for
phase
sure.
he went through phases over his career, but towards the last part of his career, he
Yeah,
really became more of a social commentator.
just
And man, was he
unvarnished.
just fucking nailing it!
Yeah.
Bang bang, right. And the thing about him was he really worked out his routine. I mean, he was a wordsmith.
Yeah.
He had precise words. You know, he just constantly worked that. He get the exact right word and the phrasing and the intonation and the rhythm.
Yeah.
And he worked at it. And goddamn, I miss him. I mean, he's like,
Yeah.
and we need him today. He would have a freaking field day.
That's all. He said everything about what's happening now
Exactly.
already years ago. So it's just kind of like, sort of a Nostradamus type of effect, in a sense. If you were to go listen to everything he said from 20 years ago and reflect on our situation now, you know.
Exactly. Sandy says, I'm quite happy to stay on my beautiful piece of heaven here, and I invited the world in 2018. CB, so Buddy came at the East Coast Zoomers here camping. I loved it. God, you're so lucky to have so many people around you in that thing, and your property does look absolutely beautiful. Jean says, I say time in nature doing for others, time with children, music, dance, art, friends, and good food. I like that. Kate says, George Carlin's story here. I was in Milwaukee at the Summerfest Fairgrounds when he was arrested for the 7 words you could not say.
Nice.
Thank you, Kamishori Kate. I probably totally messed up your name, but I tried. Chris Overton, I miss both George's, Carlin and Harrison. Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh, we have the best people here. Let's see. Sandy's about the best portables ever, and they were enjoyed. Wait, portobellos. Oh, mushrooms. Who doesn't love really good mushrooms? If you don't love really good mushrooms, you haven't cooked them right.
Just a bunch of fun guy.
I know. You gotta study. Okay, wait. All right, you guys, help me out with comments. I gotta get going. I have to work tomorrow. Damn it!
Yeah.
After a 3-day weekend, that's even harder.
I've been barely hanging on here. Sorry if I'm sure I'm babbling.
This Jay Acker, this is the single greatest case of reality denial, magical thinking I've seen in my young life. Thanks for the stream. Environmental Coffee House.
That was nice.
I'm not all doom and gloom all the time. Vanessa Kitty, I live in southern tier Western New York. Gotta let the there's some more. Your turn, Christine.
Okay. It keeps jumping
Yeah,
on
true.
me. Damn it. What does
Look,
Blake have
William,
to say? I play music, act, and entertain, or try to. Blake does some good music. He actually plays some on his channel. It's really good. Let's see.
at least William Rogers not talking about Jesuits tonight. Did you want to
Oh,
talk about
no, he
Jesuits?
said
No,
something.
he got some of that in. Don't
He's
worry.
never not talking about that.
Please tell
Well,
Pat I
I'm
love the
interested
Adam
about the
West
brown.
Batman poster. Pat,
I'm interested
the
in
Adam West. Pat,
what's that? Oh, the one there.
Blake loves your Adam West
Oh,
Batman
thanks,
poster.
man. Actually, that is really sad because that I bought that here downstairs and found out later that the young man who the artist passed away unexpectedly.
Oh no.
So he was incredibly talented. His name was Tariq, and yeah, he was just did gorgeous work, and I was really, really sad to learn that he died too young. Because
Never
yeah, but
fun to
anyway,
hear
so
people
he has a
dying.
spot, but he has a spot on my wall. That's a gorgeous piece. He was really talented. Sad to see talented people go.
It's pretty cool. I remember watching the old Batman and Robin. I watched that as a kid. I'm not by any means one of those big fans of all that stuff, but I watched Star Trek, the first Star Trek, and and Batman and Robin growing up, and also Zorro and all kinds
Pretty
of
good
stuff.
role models.
Yeah, they were.
Star Trek too.
I thought it was fun.
Well, I remember as a kid, we all rushed home from school to catch Dark Shadows.
I never
Yeah, Dark
watched.
Shadows.
I've watched
Barnabas.
Twilight,
Oh yeah.
Maverick with who was it that played? Ah,
James Garner.
yes, James Garner. I was trying to think of James Garner. Yes, thank you. James Garner was Maverick was the bomb. I love James Garner.
He was a neat guy.
Yeah, he was really good. One of my favorite movies was Murphy's Romance and James Garner, Sally Field.
Oh yeah.
I love that movie. Simpler Times.
Yep.
I would love to live that simply and great. So Gene William, I like your how you think. I guess he's talking to William or she's talking. I think James is she. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Just consider for just a minute and imagine what we can solve this whole list of what like 1,000 existential problems all at once by addressing who the boss is and saying no together in unity.
Okay, maybe.
That's interesting. Very interesting thought. I like it. Anyway, last thoughts, guys, because it is
I
late.
want to suggest that if people are interested in coronavirus, check out Chris Martinson, Peak
Yeah, he's doing really
Prosperity.
good videos.
Canadian Prepper is very good. Full Spectrum Survival is really good on information for this if you want to get some information on the coronavirus. So good luck.
Yeah.
Next.
Jim, Pat, either one.
So long, suckers.
That's a good one. Your turn, Jim. Last words.
Don't really have anything profound to say, so I'm gonna have a bunch of videos coming down the pipe soon. So just keep your eyes peeled for those, and that's about it.
Okay, guys, all at once. We will talk to you later. Please, if you haven't already, like the stream. Subscribe if you haven't, please. Trying to keep the numbers up there. Love you all. We will be back on Wednesday for Women's Wednesday, and I will be on Graham Elwood's show coming up soon. So watch out.
Oh yeah, Christine, gotta get me in touch with Graham there.
I'm definitely going to do that for the day. I'm going to talk to him all before after my show with
pre-production
him.
kind of stuff.
Yeah, talk to him about it. So anyway, so then watch for Jim after me, but he's kind of behind schedule on doing, his interviews and stuff. So anyway, in the next couple of weeks, watch for me on Graham's show. Well,
Hopefully, I'll be doing a video with him too. We talked about it, but
nice.
kind of playing it by ear. We'll see if it happens. But
it'll happen. Graham can make it happen, but he's kind of behind schedule.
Yeah, he's busy, real busy right now.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, we'll do it. Anyway, guys, say goodbye. Love you all.
Bye.
We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
See you Wednesday.
Bye-bye.
Bye, all.